Hi, this is Leisa Reid, founder of Get Speaking Gigs Now. And if you want to learn the secrets to getting booked as a speaker and staying booked as a speaker without cold calling, you should be listening to the Sell Without Selling podcast with my good friend, Stacey O'Byrne.
If you're ready to get out of your own way to follow the seven-figure science of success, then welcome to Sell Without Selling. Tune in with renowned international speaker Stacey O'Byrne as she shows you how mastering relationships, achieving the proper mindset, and attaining the necessary motivation will catapult you away from failure and onto your journey to greatness. And now, here is your host, Stacey O'Byrne.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Sell Without Selling. I'm your host, Stacey O'Byrne, and I believe that learning the art and the science of how to sell without selling is the only way to achieve high 6- and 7-figure success. Today, I am speaking with a good friend and long-term friend, Leisa Reid. Leisa is the founder of Getting Speaking Gigs Now. She coaches speakers how to get booked and attract clients through speaking. She has personally delivered over 600 speaking engagements. Oh, but wait, in approximately probably less than 6 years. Do the math. That's a lot of flipping talking on a lot of days. And you can learn more about her and her resources at getspeakinggigsnow.com. On this episode, she will reveal the number one secret to getting booked and staying booked. Hey, I believe that learning the art and the science of how to sell without selling is the only way to achieve high 6- and 7-figure success. I am so excited for you to hear my conversation with Leisa. She's a plethora of information and definitely an expert in her field. And really quick, if you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or sales professional, and you haven't hit the level of success that you've wanted or needed, or if you're stuck and needing a pivot in your business and your success, or you just want more, and you understand the importance of having a coach to help identify the blind spots, increase accountability, and help with success strategies to take you, your business, your income, and your success to the next level. If this sounds like something for you, then head over to pivotpointadvantage.com/I want success. That's pivotpointadvantage.com/I want success. There's a quick application there that will lead to a personal phone call with me to see if we're a great fit for each other. Okay, let's do this. Leisa, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, I am blessed. I know what your schedule's like, and life happens. And between everything that's been happening, we've had to reschedule this so many times. I'm blessed we've managed to get it done.
Well, we're determined young women. So
I know. There you go. There you go. Right before we went live on the episode, we had this epiphany that we've known each other almost 2 decades. Almost, not quite. Almost. And, we've had the privilege of getting to know each other through our journeys in business, right?
absolutely.
When I first started, I taught people how to network, right? I built a 7-figure business, 100% through word of mouth marketing. And I stepped into that and taught people that. And you had your journey as a W-2 employee. So I've had the honor and the privilege of knowing you through the years as an employee, through your development and emergence as a business owner and entrepreneur. So what I'd like to do is really have our listeners really get to know you through that journey. So what was it like? Did you just wake up one day and go, yeah, I'm tired of having a secure, stable paycheck. Let's just jump off the cliff and figure out if I can print money on the way down?
I think I did that a few times, but not this time. Yeah. I remember when I was younger, I grew up with my dad as a hypnotherapist and him going in and out of having his own business or trying different things to basically make money in order to do what he loved to do. That was one of my imprints that we'll probably talk about later. And so I remember when I was choosing my major in college, it was like, okay, I want to major in business because I want to have my own business. I didn't know what business that would be. I was only, 17 or whatever, but that was definitely my thought. Then I get into college. I took accounting, Stacey. I took accounting for, I think, a week. And I thought, I really don't think this is my lane. But I did love my speech communication class. Like, I called my mom the first week of college saying, I'm changing my major. And she's like, well, hold on. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I did end up changing my major, end up getting a bachelor's and master's in that.
Mhm.
But I didn't get my own business. That I remember like having a glimpse of a thought of like, what's a life coach? I think I could do that. I was like 20. I don't know how much experience I had at the time in life, but I was pretty determined. I was like, I could be a life coach. It just was different back then. This is now, the early 90s. And so when I finished working at Cal State Fullerton, I was a teacher there for those times in grad school. I got a job. Like, I didn't know what else I would do. I didn't have an idea of, well, would I open a speech business? That just wasn't even in the realm of possibility at that time. So it just went employee, 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 but I still had that like, oh, I think maybe I could have my own business. So I would stop and start a few times over the years, definitely.
Mhm.
So I would
Nice.
weave back and forth. Yeah.
It's funny when I was in high school, well, when I was in school, period, math always came easy to me. And my parents would always tell me that I was going to be an accountant because people could like throw a mathematical equation out. And as long as it was logic based and not theory based, I could do it in my head. Like I could do calculus in my head.
Wow.
I could do algebra in my head. Give me geometry and I would fail it because
Huh.
don't tell me it's because of the way it is. Tell me why it's that way. So I started my major out in accounting, and my first class, I called my mom and I was like, yeah, no, this isn't happening.
Oh my gosh. I didn't know we had that same experience.
That's why I laughed when you said that. And yeah, I changed my major to business management right after that, and still found out I had to take economics and accounting. However, it was far less arduous than majoring in accounting.
Oh yeah.
So through this journey, seriously, because there's this misunderstanding that being an entrepreneur, being a business owner is either hard or easy, right? People just think that it's funny because when people don't know anything about entrepreneurism or anything about small business ownership, they think that we're these multi-gazillionaires and that we really do nothing and we have a bunch of puppets that work for us. And then there's the people who do know the other spectrum, who do know what it's like, and they just can't believe it's possible, right? So we have this dichotomous spectrum. So what was it like for you? Was it easy? Was it hard? Was it simple? Was it struggling? What was your journey like?
I think it was all of those things in a way, because one of the things that's consistent with how I live my life, I've always done what I enjoyed doing. I always tell people sometimes I'm like, I can only do something I hate for a very short amount of time. So no matter what I was doing, whether it was owning my own business, starting up a business, being an employee, being what, it always had that theme of like, I did enjoy what I did.
Mhm.
And until I didn't, or until it was like, oh, there's a time to change. But yeah, there's different, I think for me, there were different struggles in different roles. And that's why I wasn't a complete, no, I can only be an entrepreneur and I hate my job and I want to quit and I got to get out of here. I never really had that feeling. But I also wasn't like this high risk taker of like, throw caution to the wind and go out on your own with no plan. I was sort of kind of in the middle,
Mhm.
and I've done different things. Our first big entrepreneurial experience was opening up a day spa. Stacey, we opened up a day spa. I had never even had a facial before. Honestly, I swear to you. It wasn't like I thought, I dream of having a day spa. It was literally my ex-husband. We were married at the time. He says, hey, why don't we open a day spa? And I said, oh, that sounds like a good idea. And boom, day spa, open doors when my daughter was 6 months old.
Wow.
Not something I would recommend. Looking back now, I'm like, oh my gosh, we were crazy. But I had two babies at the same time. I had a physical store location and a baby, a 6-month baby.
Yep.
So that was hard.
Yeah, I'm a huge proponent in, if you're going to do a business, make a choice. Is it going to be owner operator or are you going to be an absentee? business owner and just an investor. And if you're going to be an investor, what level? Are you going to bring in a CEO who knows the business, knows the industry? Or are you going to be the president and CEO and hire skilled professionals? You know, that industry, you kind of need both, right? You need to understand.
Yeah, it was a while ago before, like, you know, there's a lot of like there's a spa on every corner now,
like
but
7-Eleven.
at the time there was not.
Yeah.
And so we were cutting edge in that way, but
Nice.
we had business experience and we had smart. So we thought, oh, we piece the cake. People want massages, we'll hire a therapist, and voila. And yeah, it was more complicated than we thought, but I learned a lot. And then we sold the business somehow, luckily in 2008, I think it was 2008 or 9. And then I went back to become an employee. And that's when I was at Argosy when you and I met.
Yeah.
And I was happy to go for that regular paycheck at that time after going through.
Yeah. Yeah. In case you guys haven't noticed, Lisa's a little lazy and she's not very motivated, right?
I'm so twiddling my thumbs over here, you know.
Eating bonbons and watching.
Yes,
Jeopardy,
yes.
right? So all right. So you dug in and you why speaking? I mean, whatever got you into speaking? That's a very niche industry.
You know, I was never afraid of it. So that wasn't a thing for me. That didn't imprint for me. My dad was a teacher, speaker. He would have open houses, filling up his hypnosis practice at the hotel. He'd had his tapes and his books and the whole thing.
Yeah.
And my mom was a teacher as well. So I don't know if nature, nurture, both. And I remember giving my very first public talk to the entire middle school on seatbelt safety, which isn't something 13-year-olds really want to know about. But needless to say, we made it fun. We made it funny and interesting. And I remember having a really positive experience at that, occasion.
Yeah.
And then that's why when, sitting in college, my first week, sitting in a speech communication class, I'm like, I can make a major in this. What? Are you kidding me? Why didn't you tell me that? And so it's always been comfortable for me. And I would always insert training. Like, I could write a manual. Why don't we make this easy? Like, I could figure out a way that we could cut the BS out of this and just get to the point and teach people in a really simple way so they could learn it fast.
Yeah.
And so that was always fun for me.
Nice. Okay. So let's roll into the journey of the entrepreneur, which is very relative to the journey of the speaker, because really they're one and the same. And if they're not, they should be, right? So before we started recording, we were having a conversation about statistics. And that statistic was, if you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, an independent sales professional, and you're making $80,000 a year or more, you're actually in the top 3%. Top 3%. In a lot of states, a lot of cities, a lot of counties, $80,000 really isn't sustainable. It's not. I mean, in California, you might get an apartment, right? Maybe a 1-bedroom in an okay area and be able to afford a car and insurance. So the top 3% with such a low bar, and there's zero judgment and zero disrespect. It just means 97% of the people out there that are attempting to pursue success are struggling. And we were talking about why we think that is. So one of our conversations had to do with money, right? One of our most downloaded recordings was on money mindset. The other one, of course, is my most requested guest, and that just so happens to be Mary Lou, right? Because of her metaphysical and holistic approach. However, when it comes to money, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what you do. If you store it as private, if you store it as a secret, if you store it as if it's impolite or rude to talk about or discuss, then the messages that sends to our neurology, the messages that sends to our unconscious mind it turns around and represents it as something's wrong with money. Money's bad. And
Yeah.
if money's bad, if something's wrong with it, why would we ever pursue it? Right. So, a lot of people who are out there, they show up to speak with a desired outcome. And if that desired outcome is to pull people into a product, service, or solution to solve a need, want, or desire, that's great. They will attract it. And then when they go to close it with that itty bitty shitty committee deploying in the background, money's bad, money's bad, money's bad, there's something wrong. We don't even know that it's happening.
Right.
They're going to blow the close. They're going to blow the sale, right? Tell me what your experience is with speakers before they come into your business. What, if they even get gigs, right? What's their closing ratio like? Because a speaker is just a salesperson that's fishing with a net instead of a pole.
Yeah. So what I usually start with is people come to me because they feel like they have a message that they want to share.
Mhm.
And it's often described to me as a calling. Like, I must get this out. Like, I've been holding on to it. I've been thinking about this, dreaming about this, wanting to do this for so long. And they see someone else on stage, or they see speakers, or they watch a YouTube or something like that, a TED Talk, and they think that should be me.
Mhm.
But the gap is so large, they can't quite figure out, okay, like, I don't even know what my first step would be. I have so many thoughts in my head. I don't even know how I would narrow it down to what would I talk about? So usually that's where we're starting to have the conversation about, like, what would you even speak about before we talk about closing ratios? It's like, what would you speak about? Is there an audience for that? Like,
Mhm.
who would you speak to? And then, do you have something that you could then offer? And what would that be? And so when I create the talk with them, I call it Get Your Talk Ready to Rock. We actually start at the end first,
Good.
which sometimes is a really long conversation. That's okay. We say, like, what would be the thing, the action that someone could take from stage, that you're going to invite them to,
Yeah.
that makes sense for where you are right now in your business. And why I don't say what's your closing ratio is because a lot of times they're like, oh, like that would
Overwhelm them.
totally overwhelm them.
Yeah.
The one positive that I have a lot of positives, of course, but toot my own horn. But a lot of times I work with people who've never had sales training at all.
Mhm.
Like, I'll say, this is what a pipeline is. This is what prospecting is. This is what follow-up looks like. I'm not spending a ton of time teaching them follow-up, but I'm going to say, here's now the next step that you would need to do. And then as they start to get those appointments, now we have to start talking about, okay, how would you, yay, you got the appointment. What are you going to do with the appointment? What is that conversation going to look like? So it's almost kind of at the end of the trail in their mind. I get what you're saying. You're like, no, it's the beginning. I'm like, but it's kind of the end.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, before we get too far ahead, our listeners are business owners, entrepreneurs, independent sales professionals, and they may be sitting back going, why does she have a speaking coach on the show? Why are we talking about speaking gigs? And, I think I said it probably 3 minutes ago. The average salesperson fishes with a pole, right?
But now you can use a net.
Now you can use a net. Absolutely. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter if you are a plumber. It doesn't matter if you are a handyman. It doesn't matter what your specialty, what your industry, what your trade, what your expertise is. You have people out there that don't know what they don't know. You have information they don't. And it's, in my humble opinion, and I'm not a speaking expert as far as teaching people. I do speak for a living. However, I don't teach people how to do it. And in my humble opinion, it's a great opportunity to educate, inform, entertain, and build that like, know, and trust factor.
Absolutely.
Right? So for those of you who are listening, in a nutshell, it doesn't matter what you do. And I want Leisa to pick it up from here. It really doesn't matter what you do. If you're not speaking, you should. Why?
Yeah, it's like you can reach more people. A lot of times I'll run into people who are like, "Oh, I want to be more visible. I want to get my name out there. I want to be known." And I'm like, "Well, this is the easiest grab to do that. You don't have to have a fancy schmancy system. You know, if we can narrow down some of your expertise in about a 30-minute talk, which is what I recommend
Mhm.
to get started. You can always expand it to be longer, easier to go longer than shorter. And that it ties into the next step that a prospect or someone who's interested in what you do to take. Oh my gosh, like so easy. And now, I mean, I started speaking before Facebook Live was even a thing. Now we've got Facebook Live, we have everything. You could speak in videos on TikTok, on like in live, in
Yeah.
virtual. You could do so many things.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's funny. I'm actually speaking at an event in Florida that has 1,500 people in it. And what is it? I think it's in April or May. And they have me doing three pre-events to market it, three virtual events, and it's all virtual. And we're having a blast with it. I say this to say, I think one of the hardest things for entrepreneurs to wrap their head around is why they should speak. You
Yeah.
know, I don't want to be a professional speaker. I'm not a professional speaker. Look, if you have a mouth, if you have ears, if you understand your target market, and if you have a personality and the gift of the gab, you probably should, because in my humble opinion, and again, Lisa's the expert, uh, I think people are added out from Google and from social media. You know, ads are a Red Sea. And I think you need to find a blue ocean,
Yeah.
right?
And I think it's like one of the things I love working with my clients on is really uncovering their brilliance. Like everyone has something brilliant within them, has some kind of knowledge or take on something or perspective that's unique and different to just their experience. And there's probably people out there who relate to whatever your perspective is, whatever your
Yep.
brilliance is, and they need that. They're, a few years behind you, and you could really help them get to that, make that easier, do that thing faster, have a better relationship, have better health, life. What I mean, so many
Yeah.
things, so many things.
Yeah. Now I can just hear the itty bitty shitty committee going off in 15,000 people's heads right now. And that is great. So now I have to prospect. Now I have to deliver the operations of my business, find prospective clients, and now you want me to
Add one more
find
thing.
my brilliance, become a speaker, and then find speaking gigs, right? So how can experts in an industry get booked as a speaker without making those cold calls, without phone banging?
Oh my gosh, I have yet to meet a lot of speakers who, and people usually do not like cold calls. I know there's some people do. I'm probably talking to someone right now who likes it, but most people don't. And so I thought, and I had done a lot of cold calling in my life when I was in a job where I had to make 100 calls a day, and I didn't like it. I did it. I know how to do it. I don't like it. So I thought, there's got to be an easier way to do this. And it's something I call the speaker soulmate system.
Mhm.
It's fairly simple. It kind of goes back to friendship, which, is a big thing for me. I have my podcast, How I Met My BFF. I love best friendship. I love friendship. It's awesome. It's a fun way to do business. We're friends, and so it's finding a couple of people, and I'm talking less than 5, 2, 3, maybe, right?
Yeah.
Where you really develop a deep relationship with that person, connection, a reliable referral source with each other.
Mhm.
And you look out for them when you're speaking, and then you actively introduce them to wherever you spoke, because here's the kicker: your speaker soulmate, the perfect speaker soulmate, is someone you obviously like and trust, someone who speaks at a similar frequency as you, but also speaks to the same audience as you. So most of your leads and speaking engagements are going to be a match for that person, and theirs are going to be a match for you. So I used to love playing with Barbies. I probably still would play with Barbies if I had any, but I have moved on in my hobbies. But I think of it as like, if one friend's got Barbie Dream House and the other one's a Barbie Corvette, like you put them all together, it's like, hey, Barbie is looking pretty good. She's got a good life right now.
Barbie's balling.
Barbie's balling. Exactly. Hashtag Barbie's balling. And so that's how I think of this. And I've utilized the system for almost 10 years now. And I just don't prospect for speaking engagements because I get introductions to them.
Yeah.
And I give that as well. I don't just take, right? It's a give and take, but makes it real simple.
You know, I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of event planners, and what a lot of people don't know is event planners make commissions off speakers, right? So the better your closing ratio is, we'll bring up that again, right? The better your closing ratio is, the more appealing you are to them, right? And just like in sales, it's the same for speakers. The average salesperson, the average speaker closes 10% of the sales just because there's a need, want, and desire. You're well-trained salespeople and speakers. Well-trained salespeople close about 30% because they've got that one-on-one rapport and porcupine close and everything like that. The well-trained speakers, they close between 15 and 20%, right? My one-on-one sales closing ratio is 88%. My closing ratio as a speaker from a platform is between 40 to 60%. Now, look, I'm bringing this up far from intending to impress you. I want to impress upon you. Sales is not a numbers game, right? Speaking is not a numbers game. This is about truly understanding the needs, wants, and desires that are standing in front of you and showing up completely transparent in a space of service, understanding the science of human behavior so that you can truly serve and never have to sell. That's the whole foundation of this show, is selling without selling. And when you have that negative relationship with money, the itty bitty shitty committee, when you've got that self-worth, self-confidence issue, you go out on stage, they're going to see it, they're going to hear it, they're going to feel it, and they're going to know it, right? Yeah. Those spotlights expose everything. And I'm not talking visually, I'm talking metaphorically.
Right.
So, you know, when you said that these people that come to you to find their greatness, right? And they're not even looking at the end game. My question's why?
Yeah, I think it's a matter of not knowing what you're supposed to know and not knowing, like, it. I remember my first sales job was in, well, the one where I really, really took it seriously. I sold Mary Kay Cosmetics when I was in college.
Yep.
I was approached by the gal who did my skincare class. She's like, you'd be really good at this. I'm like, well, what do you do? And she goes, oh, you make 50%. I'm like, okay, cool. Handed my credit card, bought $1,800 worth of product. I was 20 and made all my, opened up my business checking account and had my little index card box of like my, who do I call and what lipstick shade do they, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I would listen to those sales tapes like all the time and would do these sales trainings over the years. And I'm always surprised, like there's a lot of people who are entrepreneurs, who are speakers, who've never had any sales training at all.
Yeah.
So that's why I think there's this gap of like, I don't even know, wait, what do you mean? A close or a who or a call? What's a CTA? What's a call to action? And I'm not talking everybody. I have also clients who are savvy with that. So I do not mean that all my clients are like that, but there are some that we're working on some of those pieces.
Yeah. Hashtag disclaimer.
Yes, definitely. I have a lot of clients who do know what those things are 100%.
And reality is it doesn't matter how educated you are in speaking. It doesn't matter how educated you are in coaching. It doesn't matter how educated you are in personal and professional development or selling. The day you stop learning is the day you stop growing. And when you stop growing, universal law is you're moving.
Dying. You're dying.
You're either going forward or backwards. We're never staying the same. So it doesn't matter how developed or how groomed we are. You know, we should always be investing in ourselves, because if we don't, how can anybody else ever invest in us? Right. So going back to speaking, I think one of my biggest questions for you is that person, that professional that does find their greatness, their excellence, and they are a resident expert in their field. Do they deliver this hardcore, canned, scripted presentation, or does it come from the heart?
I think that I love that question, because a lot of times I think there's a lot of myths about speaking, like, well, I'd have to write a script. Well, could I have my notes? Well, I'll just throw it up all on a slide and read from that, which, oh, don't do any of those things. Or I have to memorize it word for word. I'm like, don't do that either.
Nope.
So my philosophy, and this is, coming from a bachelor's and master's in speech communication, I don't ever recommend memorizing your script, or even quote unquote having a script for your talk. There are times and there are moments in which a person would be like, if you are tapped to give an Academy Award, then yes, you will be reading from the prompt, and you should probably say what's on the prompt on the teleprompter, or giving like a formal address of some sort. But when you're up there on stage, connecting with the audience, creating this, creating rapport, creating authority, all those things, seeding into your program or whatever product that you have, then I highly recommend you have a plan. So, okay, I'm going to hit these points because I've already considered why this is so valuable to the audience, and how does this tie in to that next step that's natural, that's going to fit for them, whether that's purchasing something right then, or getting on the phone with you, or whatever that is, whatever that step is. You need to be, as a speaker, super duper crystal clear. I consider you the tour guide. And if people signed up to get a kiss with the dolphins, you better get them to that dolphin pond and get that kiss. Like if they end up at a volcano, they're gonna be like, wait, I did not sign up for this trip. I don't know, where are we going? I don't know what's happening. So it's kind of like that. And I have one client, she's very, open, airy, soul connected, soul message. And she's like, how do I incorporate, what if I get a download in the middle of my talk? I'm like, well, then you can use that.
Yeah.
So in her structure, it would be like, let's make sure there's space for those downloads to come in, so that she feels she's got some wiggle room, and that not every second is taken up by content.
Yeah. For me, I have PowerPoint slides that have a picture on it.
Yeah, that's fine.
That picture is kind of like my outline.
Yeah,
So
you're like,
I know, yep. I know this is what this picture means. This is what I get to talk about during this segment. I have about this much time to talk about it. And because I've connected with whoever's out in the audience, those downloads happen, right? Because we're all just energy. And reality is, if we stay scripted, if we stay memorized, we're going to stay in our head. And if we stay in our head, we're never going to connect to them.
Well, then it's like all about you. Like if I'm the speaker and I'm worried about my content, how good of a job I'm going to do, and I can't remember what I was going to say, I better, all that stuff is about me as the speaker, then it's very difficult for me then to connect with the audience and serve with openness, because I'm so consumed with my own stuff. So that's where it's like, we work on what I call the unconscious competence. I'm like, we got to get you to where you feel, I don't know how many times this is going to be, I don't know how long it's going to take, I don't know what your process is going to be. We can talk about that. But when you feel like, what I could, and I say I want you to be able to give your talk in a boat with a goat, in a box with a fox. You want to be if they're like, can you come tomorrow? Yes, no problem. I'll be there. I want you to just feel like you can deliver your goods because it's in your bones, it's in your DNA.
Yeah.
The lights go out, the computer fries, whatever, you don't have your slides, you don't have anything. I still want you to be able to go for it.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know what unconscious incompetence
Oh.
is, what it is we don't know that we don't know. And, I jokingly refer to them as blind spots, right? So you kind of opened the door for me to step right into it. So let's talk about the dolphin kiss, right?
Yes. Yeah.
In your bio, you promised the number one secret to getting booked and staying booked. And we promised it to them. So let's kiss the dolphin. What is
Well,
this?
I did already deliver that, but I'm going to repeat it just in case I wasn't really obvious.
Okay,
But it's
great.
that speaker soulmate system. And
Nice.
it's one of those things where I've been, when you had mentioned I'd given over 600 talks, I mean, several hundred of those are from one person,
Wow.
one speaker soulmate. So I think there's just this myth that like you have to metaphorically or real or literally give out your business card or like hunt people down, which I don't think people appreciate.
Nobody wants to be
selling,
hunted.
selling, but not selling. It's like, don't do that. And really developing a true connection, a true relationship with a couple, like I said, less than 5, maybe it's 3 people. And think of it as a long-term game, not a short-term game.
Yeah.
Speaking is a long-term, like the gig you probably have in April, you have a good reputation. You've been around the block with this, people know you don't have
On
to
every bathroom wall.
hunt. Yeah, exactly. That's where they probably got your phone number, right? Yeah. So it's a long game.
Yeah.
And it's worth it.
It is. Absolutely. So welcome to the signature question of the show. And Lisa, that is, what does selling without selling mean to you?
I'm so on the same page with you in many ways. To me, it's like serving and matching.
Yeah.
Like I had a job at a company that will remain anonymous, and for 2 weeks. Remember I said I can't do anything that I hate.
Yep.
For
Yep.
very long. 2 weeks, I think, is my max. Well, it's probably less than that now. I was a little more tolerant back then about doing things I don't like. And I had to memorize a script and sell something I could give a crap about, right? And I was trying to make it mean something and it didn't. And so for me, I cannot sell anything I don't believe in 100% or that I don't believe is really for that person's highest interest.
Nice. Okay, that's fair. For me, I'd like to add to that a little bit. So many people look at the external part, the prospective client, the follow-up, the funnel, the sale, the closing, the prospecting. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And reality is you're the common denominator in everything in your life. Where we go, we follow, good and bad, right? So if you have these patterns in life that continue to happen, chances are it's because that's a program that runs in you. And so many people fail to realize that success isn't hard. Creating, developing, becoming a millionaire isn't hard. However, only 3% make over 80,000 a year. And out of that 3%, 1% of them ever hit 7 figures. Sales success is simple because it's a science. When you do the inner work, when you understand you, so many invest in laptops and technology and smartphones and smart pads. They're constantly allowing the hardware and the software to update, and yet they spend absolutely no time updating themselves. They spend absolutely no money updating themselves. Or my favorite is, oh yeah, I focus on personal and professional development all the time. I listen to 5 Audible books and I spend an hour a day on YouTube. Great. So in other words, you're learning what people want to control because books and YouTube are marketing. And it's so that they can build the relationship with you so that you can trust them to end up in the product, service, and solution. However, reality is so many people don't trust themselves enough to invest in themselves. And the outer is never going to work if you don't do the inner work. And I want to avoid being doom and gloom. It's just reality. You are
Yeah.
the common denominator. And get out of your way. And I can promise you, you'll always have your way. And so many people fail to embrace the simplicity in that. I let go a long time ago, and I have 8 coaches, and I am literally a puppet. They don't tell me what to do. They just drive me neurotically crazy by exposing every blind spot I have so that I can become even better, which then allows me to hire even better people, which then allows me to help people even easier. Success isn't hard. Success isn't easy. Success is simple because it's a science, and it's the science of human behavior, starting with you. And then when you allow yourself to reprogram, then you can learn all those sexy ninja sales tricks. And they're not tricks, because if you're using them as tricks, that's manipulation. It's about being able to influence. And that's why speaking is so important, because when you do become that resident expert as a speaker, when you do find your brilliance and your excellence, you have a lot of empowerment standing in front of people, serving them. And that gives you a lot of influence. And you can mess it up or dress it up.
I like that.
Thanks. So, any last advice that you can give them to get out of their way and serve easier, serve more people from the realm of speaking?
I'm a huge fan of get ready to be ready. I think there's a lot of things with speaking that anyone can do to just say, you know what? Okay, I'm going to get my talk done. I'm going to figure out where I'm going to speak. What's my strategy going to be? Let me get my speaker intro. Just some pieces. If you want to do this, just you do your homework ahead of time. You can get it done. And then you can go out and be a speaker. But you have to start somewhere. You have to start, at 1, and then that'll be 2 and 3 and so on.
Yeah. And I'd like to spank the unicorn, so to speak, since Lisa didn't bring it up. Good is good enough. If you focus on perfect, you'll never.
Done is better than perfect, right?
Yep. Yep.
Get her done. Let's go. Come on.
I know so many people that are like, oh, well, it's not perfect yet. Perfect's a unicorn. It's not going to happen. Like Lisa said, done is better than perfect, because done will get it done. Right.
I think of a talk as like an organism anyway, or a child that you're raising. It's like, it's going to grow, it's going to evolve, but you don't know what it's going to evolve into until you go and do it. It's like Jerry Seinfeld. He doesn't do his HBO special cold. He's already gone and shopped it around. He's gone to the local. That's if you see Jerry Seinfeld at your local improv, that's what he's doing. He is preparing for his next big thing. And he's seeing what laughs, which one gets the joke, and so speakers like, yeah, you got to get out there and try it. It's okay.
Yeah, you do. Absolutely. I remember one time when I said something from the stage and got crickets, and I was like, oh yeah, that's not going to ever work again.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, I thought it was funny, but
I know, right? Well, that's just
not
how my brain works anyway. So, Lisa, welcome to the random round. I believe that success leaves clues, and I like to ask our guest experts a couple questions, and so that our listeners can turn around and say, you know what, I really like that, and I want to apply it to myself or my business or my life. Sure. So my question for you, I have 2 for you. First one is, what's your morning ritual look like?
What I do in the morning is I really focus on my spiritual and mental intention for the day.
Mhm.
So I pull a couple of different cards from 2 different decks and just ask a question if I'm feeling compelled,
Mhm.
and just kind of go, Sometimes I'm surprised. Sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, that's about right. That's exactly what I'm going through. But I just use it as a way to practice my divine connection. To me,
Yeah.
that's important. It's like, and it's a daily thing, and I'm learning as I'm doing my spiritual practice as well.
Nice.
And then I also write 2 different books I have that I write in. One is captured moments. So I'll reflect back on what happened yesterday. It's a little different than a gratitude journal. It's like, oh, what was a memory that came up from yesterday that I want to just jot down? And I remember when I started it was one of the first entries is taking my daughter to the beach for the first time. And now she's 19. So now I didn't do it for 19 years. I will say that, but it's really powerful. And then the other thing I write is I write a little note to my dad. He passed away several years ago, and it's a way for me to feel like we're still chatting,
Yeah.
and sometimes it might be deep questions, and sometimes it might be just a little update on life, and it helps me feel calm and supported.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. So my last random round question is, what is your favorite word and why?
My current favorite word is delight. And it's my word for the year. And I decided I've often used this over the years in my intention writing, because I find that when I intend to experience delight, I look for it more. And delight is never going to let you down. It's like delight's a good thing. Surprises, we don't always, flat tire is a surprise. May not want that surprise. But delight is like a surprise that has a little like cherry on top. It's like a good one. So
Mm-hmm.
like I ran into a girlfriend of mine that I hadn't seen in years totally random. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that was delight, like hand delivered to me.
Wow, I love that. I love that. All right. Well, Leisa, I truly, honestly appreciate you coming on the show. I know how busy you are. I know what your schedule's like. And if our listeners want to find you, follow you, reach out to you, connect with you, how can they?
They can find me on getspeakinggigsnow.com. That's gigs with an S, because of course you want more than one. And there is 5 top tips to get more speaking gigs. You can just grab that right on the homepage there. You'll see a little pop-up or a little form you can fill out, and that'll go right to your inbox. Lots of tips.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Make sure you do that, because it really doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter who you are. We always want to find other ways to differentiate ourselves from our competition. So I'm telling you, speaking has been a huge impact to my ability to touch lives and make a difference. And I hope you find your brilliance, your excellence, and your greatness to do the same. And hey, your success is important to me. And it's also important to me to make sure that these episodes are valuable to you and for you. I'd love for you to do 3 things right now. First, I'd love for you to hop over to Instagram and follow us at Pivot Point Advantage. That's hop over to Instagram, follow us at Pivot Point Advantage. And since you already have your phone in your hand, now hop over to Facebook and join our Sell Without Selling community. That's hop over to Facebook, join our Sell Without Selling community. Both areas give a lot of fun tips and interaction, and we're constantly posting in both. And last and definitely not least, I'd love to chat with you and get feedback on the episodes to find out if there's any topics that you're interested in to help make this show more powerful and helpful to you achieving the success that you've always dreamed of, desired, and know you deserve. Head over to pivotpointadvantage.com/talk to Stacey. That's pivotpointadvantage.com/talk to Stacey. Let's get a 15-minute call on the schedule. And hey, always remember this: choice is a powerful thing, and suffering is always optional. Get out of your way so you can get on your way, so you can finally have your way. Thanks so much for listening, and I look forward to talking with you soon.
Whether it's mastering your mindset, communication, or success, we have more ways to keep you on your journey to greatness. Be sure to visit us at pivotpointadvantage.com for exclusive online training programs, success-specific courses, and more ways to connect to Stacey directly to help you achieve the financial success you've always desired, dreamed, and deserved. That's all available on pivotpointadvantage.com.